good afternoon to you, and welcome to Xandermonium, the talk show that gets you talking. I'm your host, Xander Gibb, and today, along with my co-host, author Tyhe Egar, I will be looking at this week's hottest topics. And in part deux, I will be speaking to holistic biological dentist Dr. Michael Rouff. So get your questions ready for Dr. Michael or dentistry-related questions. No algebra, I'm afraid. And call us on 347-884-9061. That's 347-884-9061. That's in part two. More to come in a mere moment. So you can interact with us during the show on the show page in the chat room at the bottom of the page. And you can call us with your questions during Hot Topics 2 and your comments to weigh in on our topics or start your own on 347-884-9061. That's 347-884-9061. Or on Twitter, you can tweet us. You can tweet me at Xander Gibb, XanderGibb, capital X, capital G. You can tweet Tyhe at Tyhe Paul Egar. That's TYHEPAQLEGAR. That's capital T, capital P, and capital E. You can also tweet Dr. Michael on at Dr. Michael Rouff. I'll spell it for you. That's Dr. as in DR, Michael as in the traditional spelling, M-I-C-H-A-E-L, and Rouff, R-O-U-F-F, capital D, capital M, capital R. Tweet me if you're too shy, and I will make your point for you. Oh, yes, I will. So it's been a long and difficult week, but my blue funk and my migraine have finally gone. I sometimes feel like life will always be full of ups and downs in order for us to appreciate the good stuff. Onwards and upwards, as they say. And a huge thanks and big hugs to those out there of you who support and love me regardless. Now, for those that do have that level of support from friends, fans, and followers, we do have to ensure that we reciprocate and do not take that support for granted. Now, it's imperative to at least try and give good support to people, as failing to do so is frankly a little selfish to say the least. Now, for me, even the smallest gesture means the world, and I do remember these things. Elephants never forget. Now, I am human, contrary to popular rumor, and FYI, I hurt too. And whilst I'm prepared to admit that I can be overly sensitive at times, mostly on days that end in Y, something that my mom puts down to my artistic fervor, whatever that means, I do try hard to keep this in check. Oh, yes, I do. So we also taped 2 episodes of the TV version of Xandermonium this week, and I will be announcing air dates soon. I sometimes have to pinch myself to make sure I'm not dreaming with regards to some of the things I find myself being able to do. And I'm truly grateful, truly even, for the gifts and skills that I have been given in order to be able to do the work that I do. I want to really encourage all of you today to take a chance and live your dream, whatever that might be. Write a book, write a song, start a radio show, jump out of a helicopter, paint a picture, do what makes your heart happy, and make sure you take time for you. And in doing that, really protect yourself and ensure your soul is soothed. So go and soothe your soul. Soothe your soul. Wrong teething today. But make sure you wait till the show has finished before you go soothe your soul. So the book is going well, and I'm amazed by how many of you actually recognize yourselves in it and are actually flattered by the inclusion. Now, the book is called The Boy from Beyond the Ice House and is available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iBooks, and all good booksellers. Make sure you get your copy soon and write a review and send it to us here at the show for a chance to win a pre-release copy of my new album, which will be out for Christmas. More info about that to come. As usual, the email address is xander@xandergibb.com. That's xander@xandergibb.com. So we lost Elaine Stritch and James Garner, a.k.a. Jim Rockford, this week. And it's odd how the passing of someone you never met but has been in your living room every week makes you feel. Thanks for your contribution to our culture, guys, and give my love to Elvis. Thank you very much. So it's also the 45th anniversary today of the moon landing. Some skeptics still say that it was done in the TV studio, but our government wouldn't try to deceive us, would they? Surely not. Also, please remember our brother, Sergeant Andrew Tamarisi, who is still in jail in Mexico. Please lobby your senator and President Obama, who seems to be ignoring the situation right now. And check out Free Our Marine on Facebook and Twitter, and also on the internet at freeourmarine.com. Make sure you show your support. So if you would like to come and get on your soapbox, please email us at Xander@XanderGibb.com. That's Xander@XanderGibb.com, and we will get you on to put your point across at the beginning of the show. Oh, yes, we will. So joining me to break down this week's hottest topics is broadcaster, author, singer, writer, and the Lord of Neath World, the one, the only Mr. T.P. Egar. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
I'm fabulous. So what have you been up to this week?
I've been writing like a maniac, basically.
Right. This is the second book we're talking about.
It is the second book. And I have to say, hello, Joe, you're back. Hello. It's nice to see you again. I'm trying to type and write, and I can't do that at the same time. So yeah. But yes, that's what I've been doing.
Go on.
No, I was just saying that's as far as the personal front. Well, I started writing the solo album as well, but as far as the personal life at the minute, it's not wildly exciting. I'm just frantically writing, so that's all you get really from me at the minute.
Absolutely, and I totally get that. I've been writing all week, but for upcoming episodes of the TV show. But that's all I seem to do. I seem to write, eat, sleep, and that's about it right now. I wanted to say a quick hi to everyone in the chat room. It's great to see people in chat. Don't forget you can join in with today's topics. You can call in, whether you agree or disagree, or you can call in to make a point about something absolutely different. 347-884-9061. That's 347-884-9061. Oh, yes, indeed. So let's talk Charlie Sheen, shall we, Tyhe? We can always seem to count on Charlie Sheen to give us something to talk about, even when he's at the Taco Bell drive-through. Now, a new Charlie video recently went viral, and as of Wednesday morning, it already had 150,000 views. In the clip, the actor was summoned over to a friend's car and told she's a big fan. The guy taking videos of his gal pal who is sitting in the passenger seat. Sheen then shows off his tattoos, one of Charlie Brown and another of the Cincinnati Reds. I'm sure that's some sporting reference. After being assured by the couple that they're not fighting with each other. Now, the couple are then introduced to Sheen's friend Gary, who is hanging off in the distance, and that's about all that happens. It's still all kind of amazing as it's such a raw encounter with a happy Charlie in his full glory. So, what do you think? Is this perhaps one of the best intoxicated celeb videos of all time? It's certainly one of the best performances we've seen from the winning guy in some time. So did you actually see this video, Tyhe?
I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I always worry. I mean, because the last time, he was standing on car parks and things, telling everyone he was a warlock, wasn't he? But
yeah.
But what worries me is, I know everybody's mocking him and having a go at him, and his behaviour is really bizarre. But as somebody who suffers with mental health problems, it really concerned me because it's easy to mock him, but clearly the man was unwell. Now, this one, it might be alcohol-related or drug-related or whatever, but either way, it's kind of, well, he's off on one again. Now, is it just because he was, he was drunk or whatever, or is he ill again? So...
Could be all of the above, or any of the above with this guy. But the one thing that kind of struck me is I wondered if he's on is he on medication, or is he off his medication, or is he drinking with his meds? Because that usually is indicative of his behavior.
Yeah, well, it's always run with him, hasn't it? As far as I can think back, because when he ran with the Rat Pack or whatever they used to call them, it was always kind of drug and alcohol related, wasn't it? And yeah, of course, alcohol and medication is never a great combination for anybody. So it's really hard to tell with him, isn't it? But it's always a shame because he's a really talented actor. But I suppose that again throughout the history of Hollywood, the two going hand in hand, isn't it? As it sadly tends to be drugs and alcohol. But as you're saying, go with talented people. What can I say? Not that I'm implying that you take drugs and alcohol or any of the two, but although I have saying that though, I was on the Pride March in Glasgow yesterday, and it did end with me imbibing several alcoholic drinks. So there you go. But I hope he's okay. What can I say? He is, and you're right, Kathy. Sorry, he is nuts. Yeah, but
yeah, totally.
But let's hope he's okay.
I'm convinced that some of these really well-known celebs, they do silly things like this on purpose when they know they've got a product coming out, or when they need work, or kind of like when they need attention. And it's genius, really. I mean, look at Britney Spears when there was a bit of a flag in her career. She cuts off her hair and she behaves wildly. I think there is a real tendency for celebrities to kind of do this as part of a promotion thing. But do you think it's always, there is this analogy that all attention is good attention. Do you think that's true, or do you think some attention is kind of like negative and you really don't want that kind of attention to you or your career?
Well, I think you're right a lot of the time, but I think you've got to be very careful, haven't you? Because it was like all the Bieber nonsense a little while ago. It can backfire, can't it? Because people either become bored with it, or they cross a line and it just becomes unacceptable. So you're playing that hand. You can play one too many hands. So people will be, as I say, either becomes unacceptable and people will turn on you, or it just becomes boring and people turn their back on you. So I think you've got to be very careful with that. But I mean, at the moment, I thought his career was doing well, wasn't it? He's back with this new sitcom, isn't it, Anger Management, which I haven't watched.
No, me either.
Because I watch far too much television as it is, and I'm busy. So yeah, I suppose it's that. But you're right, he's been quiet for a while, hasn't he? So maybe it is that. People aren't paying enough attention to me, so let's do something stupid.
Exactly.
It's hard to tell, isn't it? It is hard to tell. You never know really what.
No, you're absolutely right. And Joe just made an interesting point in the chat room about people, people are afraid to hire Lindsay Lohan now. I kind of think that with some celebrities, they're actually, because insurance companies won't touch anything with Lindsay Lohan involved. I know she was involved in this movie called The Canyons that my friend's partner wrote. And apparently getting insurance for her to even be on set was like, it was like pulling teeth to actually get there. I think sometimes these antics make you less employable, and so it can kind of go against you. If you're doing it to get attention. I mean, when my TV show starts, I will definitely be, appearing naked at car washes and McDonald's and that kind of thing too. But I think I'd just get arrested knowing my look. I wouldn't be like good attention or like newsworthy. Xander Gibb found naked in Times Square. So I think it must be kind of hard to get that balance, because there are some celebrities who have they've taken themselves out of the loop by their crazy antics. Do you think do you think they considered that danger before they do all of these crazy stunts?
No, I don't. I think because, again, isn't it, it's like, excuse me, we've spoken about it before as well, is people courting the press and then complaining when the press uses them back. You know, it's all like, oh, why don't they leave me alone? Well, they don't leave you alone because you went out of your way to use them, and you can't really complain when it happens, you know, the other way around. So, but I don't think they do weigh up the situation when they realise, because there's a difference, isn't there? When you're in that situation, there's only you and that one person with a camera, but what you don't realise is that camera, exactly like this, 150,000 hits really quickly, but probably by tomorrow that will be 1 million hits or something. And I don't think people realise just how quickly now the media spreads worldwide, you know, because it's not a case of, oh, it'll just be in a couple of chat rooms for a little while, you know, things are now worldwide, they go viral instantly. And I don't think we do, you know, take that into consideration at the moment it's happening. It's just between you and a few people, but within minutes, you know, you and I are talking about it, and 150,000 other people have been discussing it. They'll then share it, and et cetera, et cetera. So then, you know, before you've realised what's happened, it's completely out with your control. Then, you know, you can't take it back. It's done. It's, you know, and I don't think that's taken into consideration a lot of the time. You know, it's too late before people realise that, you know, what they've done.
Exactly, and I think. I mean, we all obviously laugh at these things, and they give us, you know, something to talk about on radio shows like this. But I have to say, I'm a bit more respectful of these people that are kind of considered to be boring and don't go out, get drunk, and they don't show their panties when they're getting out of cabs and all of these things. But I think that in the end, we, as the general public, we get fed up of these individuals. You know, he's talking in the chat room right now about Justin Bieber, who we are going to come on to a little later. But is he going to end up, if his antics are more talked about than his music, what does that say about the music? Because for me, I think that we should be talking more about what your talent is and what your forte is than the stuff that you get up to. I mean, surely there has to be a fine balance and a fine line.
Well, absolutely, but again, though, it's that thing, isn't it? As I said earlier, it's that crossing the line, isn't it? It's when because the last time we discussed Bieber, as far as I was concerned, he should have just been in jail. It was, you know, it was far way past any kind of line of commerciality or advertising. He was breaking laws and potentially putting other people in danger. So as far as I was concerned, that was way past advertising or any kind of humour. You know, it done enough is enough. You know, sort this guy out, because I know as George saying, you know, he's a child or whatever. He's not. He's a young adult now, and I'm gone all the excuses. So that kind of behaviour, you know, that as far as I'm concerned, that is a line that's crossed. So, you know, then it changes things.
I mean, there surely has to be. I don't know, how old is he now? Is he 18 or 19? I mean, I see the point that he's still young and he's still a child and stuff. But you know, we've said this on the show before. Surely, I would hope as I rise. As my star rises, that there would be people around me that would be able to actually say to me, Xander, that was a stupid thing that you did. You really shouldn't do that, because if you're trying to make a name for yourself, it's really going to F you up. But I think that some of these stars get too big for their own boots, and surely his mother should be able to say, come on, Justin, this is just too much. I mean, Is that not happening, or what do you think? Do you think people are too scared to challenge these people?
Well, I think they don't want to challenge them, but again, I think we've spoken about this in shows previously. The problem is with people in his situation, and the problem with things like the X Factor, and over here, I don't know, I'm sure you've got the version of it, but over here we've got a show called Britain's Got Talent. The problem is really young people are thrown into fame and making money really quickly, but they've not done the time like we have. So they have no experience to fall back on. So they've no idea what's coming. They've no experience to fall back on, so they just get hit in the face with all this. So now I suppose I'm now kind of sticking up for them. And the people behind them are only interested in making money out of them. So they're not going to stop that kind of behaviour, because to them it is all advertising and it is all money making. And because they don't have any way of protecting themselves, they end up in these situations. But there has to be a point where they do realise, hang on a minute, this is not acceptable behaviour, because, you know, they are, at the end of the day, they're also human beings and know that how, you know, this is not how other people behave. But
exactly.
there is that problem that, you know, they don't have the smarts to deal with it because they've never, you know, they haven't done their time.
I think you make a really valid... Go on, sorry.
No, I was just saying that's it. You know, they just haven't done the time. They haven't got the experience behind them.
Absolutely, and I think you make a really valid point there, because look at people like Susan Boyle. You know, they thrusted her. You know, she'd gone from being this shy woman who didn't go out very much and didn't know anybody to being like an international celebrity overnight, and they didn't give her enough support. And even Simon Cowell said that, you know, people like her, you know, that they were negligent in not giving her the level of support that they should have done.
Yeah.
And she had like a mini breakdown with it all, because it is a lot to deal with. I mean, every time I open my door, I've got the paparazzi in my face. Xander, is it true you're having an affair with Adam Lambert, and, you know, such questions? And so, you know, I have to learn to kind of deal with this. But, you know, on a serious note, you know, Kathy just made a point in the chat room about the fact that when anybody challenges them, that they will just kind of like turn their back on them. I'm sure there is an element of that, but it's sad when you get too big to be able to take advice from people, and I think there must be a great big element of ego with all celebrities and all people that are in the public eye, that think that, you know, that they can't put a foot wrong. And I think that we, you know, the public and America in general has a responsibility in all of that, because I think less in the UK, but it still happens in the UK, but we tend to hold celebrities and famous people to a different standard than we do your average Joe in the street.
Well, absolutely, but again, that's the point, though. This is what I was saying. He and not just him, all of that. It should be held accountable, but that's when the law has to, you know, has to make that stand and not and make them accountable. You know, not say, oh, well, a celebrity, you know, you've got to give them leeway. Well, no, you don't. Why do you? Because they're a celebrity. Because surely, from our point of view, I think we should be held more accountable, because if we have people looking up to us and we're saying, as entertainers or writers or performers, well, we want you to, you know, we have something to say here. And particularly if we're saying we have something to say from a moral standpoint, or we have something to say from a political standpoint, then what we're saying is we believe we are influencing you. So then we should be held more accountable because we're doing that. Exactly. So we should not be allowed to get away with anything at all. We should be held accountable. And the law should be saying, well, you know, you're going to pay for this kind of aberrant behavior.
I think it's definitely a very circular thing, because I think the bigger you get celebrity-wise, the more you kind of feel you're untouchable. And you know, look at, you know, let's say, for example, look at the O.J. Simpson trial. If O.J. Simpson had just been your average black man in the street, and I mean this in a perfectly nice way, but he would have gone to jail. But O.J. Simpson was acquitted, you know, of killing his wife. I think that celebrity does far more harm than good, and I don't think celebrities should be expecting this level of response. If you break the law, you know, I mean, I'm not talking about silly things, but anything really, it does not give you carte blanche just because you're a celebrity to do and say what you please. And you should be subject to the same rules and regs as the rest of us, because it doesn't make you, even though you might think you're higher up the echelon because you are a big star, if you kill someone or you hit someone, you should be bound by the same rules as everybody else, I suppose, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, absolutely, of course, and it's not just that, is it? I mean, over here, you know, we found over the past few years, all these politicians who have been committing major fraud, basically, and all were just allowed to pay the money back that they'd stolen from us. Whereas if it were you or I'd be looking at serious prison time.
Yeah, But it even goes deeper than that. Look at all this in the past couple of years, where all of these famous people like Rolf Harris and who else was there? Jimmy Savile and lots of people of that ilk. It's just come out in the last year or so that it was covered up that they were abusing children. And that was covered up because they were celebrities, and that's a grave concern. I mean, it's one thing to be let off a parking ticket because, you've had a hit record or whatever. I mean, even that is kind of like not very good. But for officials to look the other way because you are a celebrity and you've abused a child is nothing short of disgusting in my book. But I'm sure this kind of thing goes on everywhere. And I don't think it's just like, things like, throwing a parking ticket out because someone's famous. I'm sure it goes all the way up the chain of criminology, that people are getting off with things because they're famous.
Well, absolutely. But I think, you mentioned Rolf Harris there, but I think the scariest so far was the Jimmy Savile case, and that only came out because he died. That would still be going on.
Right.
And that's still going on. People are still, coming forward and saying, what he did to them. And nurses in hospitals knew about it. People, really top officials knew about it. And that was absolutely horrendous, what was going on. And it was being actively covered up. And it was, he was still abusing people, and it was being actively covered up. And he was, he was a TV celebrity.
There is this promotion of a culture of that people shouldn't speak out, but surely we should speak out even if we're mistaken, because isn't it better to be mistaken than for someone to still be in harm's way? I mean, all of these people that are coming out now and saying, these nurses and public officials and stuff that are saying, oh yes, I knew this guy had done these things, but we covered it up. We didn't say anything because he was famous. And to me, that is, they should be just as culpable. I just have to say, people in the chat room are asking, this was a case in the UK where over the last year, a group of celebrities have been prosecuted for everything from sexual assault to child molestation, but it was all covered up because they were famous. And the names that we mentioned, like Jimmy Savile, was someone who did lots of children's TV shows and worked with sick children, and the same with Rolf Harris. Did TV shows for children and stuff as well. So that was kind of like just something that sprang to mind as a part of this. I mean, do you think do you think that the general public contributes to this kind of culture where celebrities are not being held accountable for the things that they've done?
Well, I think we just trust them, though, don't we? We kind of blindly accept. I mean, because, and as Xander was just saying to you guys then, I mean, Jimmy Savile was hugely respected here. When Xander and I were children, when TV was still black and white, he was, just deal with it. He was massively respected, and he worked with children all the time, although I have to say, even as a child, he creeped me out. But he was hugely respected. He had access to children constantly. But we just trust celebrities because they're celebrities. We never, you don't instantly look on TV and think, oh, well, we should watch that person. And I think that's the issue, isn't it? We just blindly trust people.
Absolutely.
And that's how they get away with it, though, isn't it? A serial killer doesn't look like a serial killer if they'd never get a victim.
Exactly.
We just don't, we just take people on trust.
We do. And kind of in the same vein, but a little bit different. I'm going to move on to the next topic now. Now, while most of us were in complete horror at the tragic crash of the Malaysian Airlines passenger jet last week, Jason Biggs decided, he's in a TV show called Orange is the New Black, decided to make light of the situation on Twitter. And his tweet was basically, anyone want to buy my Malaysian Airlines frequent flyer miles? he quickly tweeted, following up with, in all seriousness, though, how do you mistakenly shoot down a commercial plane? It's the saddest for me, for the victims and their families, obviously, but Malaysia Airlines is apparently a great airline, gonna be tough to recover. Now, he was met with a backlash from those mourning those 295 passengers, none of whom survived after the missile hit the plane in Ukraine. And then he backed it up later by saying, hey, all you too soon a-holes, it's a effing joke. You don't have to think it's funny or even be on my Twitter page at all, Biggs wrote. Now, the idea that I wouldn't have any empathy for the victims and their families because I made a joke is absolutely ridiculous. You know that, right, with a big question mark. Truly, you losers are literally trying to find shit to get angry about. Channel your issues elsewhere. He said he even chose to deal with the tragedy through humor, saying, I hope I can laugh during my family tragedy, too. Now, this isn't the first time Jason Biggs has become known for his live tweets, as after the Bachelorette contestant Eric Hill died in an accident, Biggs tweeted, crazy rule change. Instead of voting off the contestants this season, the Bachelorette gets to kill them off. Now, he did a three-pronged apology, and I just wanted to kind of read the first part of it. It said, hey all, okay, so I'm deleting my previous tweets. People were offended, and that was not my intent. Sorry to those of you that were. So first of all, Tyhe, I wanna get your response to what he tweeted, whether it was too soon, and what you feel the level of response should be.
Well, right, okay. So, my humor's really twisted anyway. So,
right.
I'm kind of agreeing with Joe that he didn't grovel and apologise. Okay, possibly yep. It was too soon. The comment the thing I picked out of what he said though was, I hope I could laugh at my family tragedy. Well, let's hope that he doesn't have a family tragedy anytime soon.
Right.
But if he does, it'll be interesting to see what kind of humour he makes out of it and how quickly he makes it. Two, I agree though. How do you mistake a commercial airline for what did they think it was, and where did they think it was going? And at the end of the day, everybody's humour is different, isn't it? But we again have discussed it before privately as well as on air. It is humour generally, comedy's taking out tragedy, isn't it? We have a comedian over here, Frankie Boyle, who's forever being attacked because his humour is really, really close to the bone. And some of his I find really distasteful. Other times he has me doubled up in hysterics, So I suppose it is. It's down to your taste in humour, isn't it? Some of that I found, was distasteful, but some of it, it's funny. It was quick humour. Again, personal taste. I wouldn't have gone that quickly for it. But again, I think he was right. He did it, so don't grovel and apologise. I agree with Joe. But, at least he kind of admitted it was too soon. I think it was a little too soon. But comedy's comedy. And as a comedian, and I've been a stand-up before as well, you go for a joke, and you've done it as well, you write comedy as well. You go for it, and you hope people like it. And if they don't, you either drop it or you keep it until somebody does find it funny. And that's the danger of comedy, isn't it? You go for it and see what happens.
You're absolutely right. Now, this is my take on it. This is the thing. Whatever you put on Twitter, there's going to be a percentage of people that like it and agree with it, and there's going to be a percentage of people that dislike it. Now, what he said was in bad taste, but I have to say it was mildly amusing. And yes, maybe it was too soon, but should we hang him from a post in the town square and let everybody throw vegetables at him for a week? No. He apologized.
No.
And he deleted his comments. And I think that we should actually treat it as what it is. He felt that he made a joke, and then he retracted on that. Hey, I'm the queen of tweet and delete. I've put things out there and then thought, no, you really can't say that, Xander, because we're all human. We all make mistakes. But I think he's right. There are an element an element of people on social media that are really just looking to kind of like jump on you for the slightest little thing. You know, people with no lives, people that spend 24/7 on the internet, and all they want to do is kind of like critique people. But you see, the thing is, this is the thing. When you are in the public eye, it's very little to cause problems for you. And I remember after the tsunami that Gilbert Gottfried, who's an American comedian, made some comment. I can't even remember what it was. It was something about that, you know, something about an Asian, and there's always going to be one floating by. The next one's going to float by any second. And it was probably funny-ish, but it was too soon. Now, he lost a lot of endorsements because of that, and that's a risk you take.
Yeah.
And I, about a year ago, I kind of like took a step back with my social media. I was more careful what I said on Twitter, not so much Facebook, because Facebook seems to be a lot more tolerant, but some things on Twitter, they go viral very quickly. And, you know, I think that you do really have to be careful. You know, Kathy said in the chat room, you can't please all of the people all the time, and it's so true. And the thing is, you will find your own audience. I particularly think that Jason Biggs and Jenny Mullen, who is his wife, she's just written a book called I Like You Just the Way I Am. I think they're absolutely hilarious. I think they're a very funny couple. They're quite dirty. They tell dirty stuff. He put pictures out there recently of him. How can I put this politely? I'm just going to say it. Him sucking breast milk out of his wife's breast. And I actually thought it was funny. And some prude said, "Oh, it's disgusting, and why he shouldn't be doing that," and you know, whatever. The thing is, this is the thing. You will find your audience. Your audience. You won't find your audience. Your audience will find you. And if they do not like what they see, they will go elsewhere, and that is fine too. But this is the thing. This is the level of his humor. And if you don't like it, then switch off. If you don't like it, block him. Don't follow him. But to make the big deal out of it that some people did, I thought was a bit over the top.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Joan Rivers, and how many people has that woman offended over the years? But if you don't like the humour,
exactly.
You know what I mean? Don't watch her. I think she's hysterical, and if she wants to go at me, bring it on, girl. I mean, I'll give her a go back. I'll give her a run for her money. But I absolutely love her. But she offends people, and you know, so don't watch. And exactly what you said. If you don't like somebody's comedy, humour, whatever, then don't listen to them. Don't watch them. But you're right. You know, he went for it. And then he obviously rethought it and thought, oh, okay, I've offended people. But yeah, it is. I stand by what I just said. You know, comedy, particularly that kind of, you know, stand-up, particularly, you get something in your head and you go for it. And the only way you're going to know if it's funny is by doing it or saying it out loud. And
absolutely.
You know, and as a stand-up, I know I've had things in my head and I've said them out loud and thought, oh, maybe not. We'll just leave that alone.
Exactly.
And then other times I've thought, I don't know how this will go, and I've said it out loud, and I've won an audience, and I've kept them, and you know yourself when you do stand up that you know that's a really difficult thing to do. But once you've got an audience, you've got to keep going, and so you've just got to take that. It's a gamble, and you know.
It's totally hard. I know the listeners know that when I found it difficult to get work as a singer in London, I put on a dress and did comedy and sang as well, and quite a lot of the time, some of the stuff that I said was pretty controversial. I remember being at an AIDS benefit once, and this drag queen. Do you remember Adrella? She said,
yeah.
It was one of my first gigs. And she said, she brought me off the stage and she said, "It's so wonderful to see fresh blood on the circuit." And then she said, "Is it okay to talk about fresh blood at an AIDS benefit?" And everybody gasped. But I pissed myself laughing because I thought it was funny. But this is the thing that some people will get your humor and others won't, and they won't appreciate it. But go on.
No, I was just going to say, you remember our friend Alex, whose drag name was Mr. Q, and he was our last friend, you know, his last friend to lose to HIV in 2000. But he was open about, you know, about being HIV positive, and he would go on stage and announce himself, "Hello, I'm Miss Q. I'm a half-dead drag queen." And he would get real flack for that, and people would say, "You've no right to say that." And he would say, "Well, excuse me, I'm the one who's HIV positive. I know." And sadly, in those days, the drugs weren't as good as they are now, and he knew that he was dying.
Right.
And so he would say to people, "You have no right to tell me how I use my humour about myself." But he would get flack for that, and it never stopped him. But that was his sense of humour, and that was how he decided to kind of deal with it. But he would still get the flack for that, and I used to respect him for that. He'd say, "Well, if you don't like my humour, don't keep coming to my shows. Why are you still in my audience?" So again, but that was humour. He directed it himself. He wasn't directing it at other people who were HIV positive. He was directing it himself. But he would still get criticism for that. So again, it's taste. It's your own personal taste. I used to think it was hysterical. It wouldn't be my choice of humour, but to direct it myself or anybody else, because he always used to want me as well to sing with him. He always wanted me to sing Another One Bites the Dust with him at our charity.
I remember being backstage. I remember being backstage, and he said he wanted for us all to sing Another One Bites the Dust at an HIV charity event. And we were just like, can't do that.
Yeah, I always used to refuse. Or Who Wants to Live Forever. And I was like, Alex, I'm just singing that at an HIV charity. But I got where his humour was coming from. And who knows, the audience might have loved it. But I was just never prepared to take that risk. But I understood where his humour was coming from, but it wasn't or your. I know you always refused as well, even though your humour is as twisted as mine sometimes. But we chose not to do that.
My humor is very twisted. Jo just made an interesting point. She said it's no different than someone like Roseanne, as in Roseanne Barr, who used to make fun of herself being a fat housewife. I think we all need to find our niche. We all need to find our shtick. And the thing is about being a comedy writer or doing any kind of comedy at whatever level, you've got to test your stuff out. I mean, I test my stuff out on my friends, because the thing is, how else are you meant to do it? Are you meant to go to a comedy club and fall on your ass, and then say, "Oh, maybe that wasn't a good joke"? I mean, that's how people used to do it. That's how people used to have to do it. But now with social media, you get the chance to say stuff. Even 2 weeks ago, somebody retweeted something I tweeted 4 years ago about Rush Limbaugh and said, "How dare you say this about Rush Limbaugh?" And for me, it's just like, that's where I was back then. Don't retweet me something I tweeted 4 years ago and want me to defend it, now. Someone just said in the chat room, "Who shall remain nameless, I wish that Rush was dead." Okay. Moving swiftly on. I won't comment on that one, but what do you think? What do you think that? I'm always looking for middle lines. Should people like Jason Biggs not be making these comments, or should he feel perfectly free to make the comments? And if he messes up, then he should just apologize if he feels that he should.
Well, I think he's done the right thing, hasn't he? If he felt he should apologise. People said that was offensive, and he said, "Well, I'm sorry you feel that's offensive. I've taken the tweets down." But it also, if you don't like it, don't follow me. But we can't get into that dangerous ground where we say you've no right to say what you're going to say. He's a comedian or whatever, or he's a funny guy, so he's done that. Because where do we have the right to say to other people, you don't have the right to say that because I don't like it? Because then, that's a really sticky line, isn't it? That's a really dangerous place to go. Because you and I was in a Pride March yesterday, basically saying, "How dare you, take my rights away?" So what are we doing then? We're taking his rights away, So no, you can't do that.
So the general consensus then, the general consensus with this issue then is that, he did it. People reacted badly. He apologized. Get over it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, everybody has a different sense of humour. Okay, people thought it was tasteless and twisted, but there you go. If he'd left it 3 weeks, he could have people rolling around and people saying that was a great line. What a great, I thought of it.
Exactly.
It's just that he chose to go for it straight away. But again, then, is that not topical? It's only because of the subject matter maybe, you know, the people, and obviously the families of those who've lost. It's horrible for.
It is.
You know, it's never going to be anything else for them, you know. But we make we tell jokes about terrible things all the time, and it's never going to get easy.
I think it helps us grieve a little bit. You know how big a fan I am of the Bee Gees, and not just because my last name is Gibb. But after Robin Gibb died, I actually joked with someone. We were talking about how good the Bee Gees were, and I said, I don't know if I should share this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I said, I wonder if we'll get 2/3 off when we buy tickets for shows. Now, you know, a lot of people would say that that's unacceptable to say about these non-living legends, but it helped me. It was funny. We laughed. You know, sometimes laughter really is the best medicine. That and a big bottle of Jack Daniels, of course.
Well, there is, but there is also out there laughter therapy. There's a genuine therapy that is laughter therapy. Or, you know, as in there's music therapy, you know, speech therapy, etc. So, and laughter is very close to crying, and they are stress relievers. So again, you know, it's one man's meat is another man's poison. You know, there's another. Well,
laughter releases. Is it endorphins that laughter releases? All of these responses release chemicals into the brain, and so, or is it dopamine? I have no idea. I'm not a doctor, but it releases something into the bloodstream. But moving on swiftly from the sublime to the ridiculous, tell us about the story that you found this week that you wanted to share with us.
Oh yeah, I had this. I just kind of had to mention this because I thought it was a little bit bizarre. Is Oscar Pistorius is the guy? I don't know whether everybody knows this, so I'll just give you a quick background. He's a Paralympian who is currently on trial in Johannesburg for killing his girlfriend, shooting her. And basically, I just saw this and thought I had to share this. He was visiting a nightclub while he's on bail at the minute, and his family decided it was unwise that he visited a nightclub while uncharged. He was involved in a drunken brawl while he was on bail during a break in his trial. And they're saying he suffers from an escalating sense of loneliness and escalation, his family said in a statement on Tuesday night. This, we believe, is underlying some of the sense of self-harming behaviour. Local media reported that Pistorius was evicted from a VIP section of a plush Johannesburg nightclub. Sorry, my autocue's just died. Nightclub at the weekend after an altercation with another patron, Jared Mortimer. Mortimer said the sprinter, known internationally as the Blade Runner, became aggressive and started poking him in the chest. He responded by pushing the double amputee, who stumbled over a chair and fell to the ground. He said the family statement signed by the runner's uncle, Leo Pistorius, denied that the athlete had been the aggressor, accusing Mortimer of peddling untruths designed for maximum attention and maximum damage. This is absolutely no truth to this man's assertion that Oscar, for instance, insulted the president of South Africa or boasted about the family's so-called influence. Pistorius had been at school with one of President Jacob Zuma's sons and liked him a lot, the statement said, and he appreciated the president's support of the country's Paralympians. While accusing Mortimer of being the aggressor, the family said that Pistorius' being in a public space such as this, and thereby putting himself in a place where this kind of confrontation could take place, was ill-considered. We do, however, believe that Oscar is a little, yeah. We do, however, believe that Oscar is grappling with an extreme level of emotional pain that is manifesting itself in some of this recent unwise action and choices. The family was counselling him to find ways of dealing with these feelings of isolation. The day after the altercation, Pistorius brought 5 months of silence on social media websites with a series of tweets on love and pain, including a quote from the Bible. Pistorius, 27, is accused of murdering his model girlfriend, Reva Steenkamp, in the earlier hours of Valentine's Day in 2013. He has told the court that he shot Steenkamp 4 times through a locked bathroom door in his apartment after mistaking her for an intruder. Prosecutors say he deliberately killed her after an argument. sorry, just to finish this. As part of bail conditions, he was initially ordered to abstain from alcohol consumption, but later successfully appealed for the ban to be lifted. His trial set to resume on August the 7th for closing arguments. So I just wanted to share, because I thought this is just completely bizarre, okay? Now, just to recap, what happened? Yeah, what happened on the night of, on the Valentine's Day on 2013 is, he said he woke up in the middle of the night and heard somebody, now he's a double amputee, okay, so his legs, they call him the Blade Runner because he uses the blades, you know, you've seen in the Paralympics, they use these amazing blades, sprint. So he woke up in the middle of the night, heard this noise in the bathroom. So he woke up, realised that his girlfriend is not in bed. So he didn't put his legs on, crawled to the bathroom, managed to get hold of his gun, crawled to the bathroom and shot 4 times through the bathroom door. Now, a neighbour heard her screaming, saying it was her, but he still shot 4 times and killed her. And he's saying he thought it was he was scared and he thought it was an intruder. But what really caught me in this was he was told not to drink, but appealed to get that ban lifted so he could go out drinking. And also, throughout the trial, a friend of his gave evidence saying that he'd shot off a gun in a restaurant once and handed it to his friend and said, "Will you take the blame?"
Wow.
So all this, so I'm just really kind of interested in what everybody thinks about this, because this guy is
several.
Very, very disturbed or completely idiot. So that's my bit done.
Well, the first thing that springs to me is, as we were talking about inappropriate jokes, is if he's called Blade Runner, why didn't he stab her instead of shooting her? And why was he out getting Legolas? Boom, boom.
Oh my God! See, I take no responsibility for that joke.
I mean,
what?
Seriously. Go ahead.
So after all this, he's out on bail. He's fought a drinking ban. So what he's saying is, no, I'm so disturbed by this, I must drink alcohol. His family has backed this up. He's gone out for a drink. The first thing he does is start a fight. But he's also at the same time he's saying he's so emotionally devastated by all this that he just wants to be left alone, and it was an accident. And this is the first thing that happens.
Wow. I mean, when do you think you would be wanting to at least keep you going?
No, that's it. I mean, it just reminds me very much of the OJ trial. And also, he's fired a gun before. He asked his friend to take blame for it. And this is not me guessing, by the way. His friend, gave evidence of this in court, because they're also televising the trial in Africa, in South Africa. And that evidence was given. So all this is going on, and also, a neighbour had said they could hear his girlfriend screaming in the bathroom. So he could hear it, obviously, if the neighbour could hear it from outside the house, he could clearly hear it was her screaming in the bathroom, but he shot 4 times through the door. And obviously when he woke up, she wasn't in the bed, so where the hell he thought she was, is beyond me, and it was after this argument. So I just kind of read this and thought, this guy is either the most stupid man on the planet, or... Well, he's looking at. Let's just say, this is only my opinion, obviously, but let's just say he's very, very lucky I'm not in the jury.
Well, I kind of think that there are lots of issues here. It kind of goes a little bit back to what we were talking about earlier, with reference to, celebrities kind of feeling like they can do exactly what they please and get away with it. But one of the things I really have to point out is, why are you going out to nightclubs when you're on trial for murder? Wouldn't you think that you would be wanting to keep your head down and kind of not make the public impression of you any worse than what it is already?
Well, absolutely. This is what I couldn't. Just when I saw the story, and I just thought, are you for real? This is, clearly this guy thinks he's going to. I think he thinks he's going to walk away from this unscathed.
Right.
And I don't. And again, this is just my opinion. I don't believe for 1 second that this was an accident. And just listening to the way his behaviour has been in the past, and his friend had got him this gun. He'd been in a restaurant and he fired it, and then just handed the gun to his friend and said, "Look, you take the blame for this. I can't get done for it." And it's trading on the fact that he's a sports celebrity, and sat in the court, obviously saw scenes on the news from the courtroom, and he's kind of sat there, and he's not sat looking arrogant, I don't mean that for a second, but he's sat there with this I don't know, there's just a strange look on his face that he's going to get up and walk away from this. But the idea that his defence is that he thought there was an intruder, he was scared, and so he fired through the bathroom door. Now, for a start, how many intruders, what did he think they were stealing in his bathroom, for a start? And also, if you woke up, you woke up in the middle of the night, your partner's not in bed, and you hear a noise in the bathroom.
I'm glad you didn't say girlfriend there, because I would have been more concerned.
I'd be more concerned if you had a girlfriend than anybody listening to the show right now.
I would too. I would be mortified.
But really, if you woke up in the middle of the night and your partner wasn't in bed with you and you heard a noise in the bathroom, what would be your first reaction? Oh, my partner's in the bathroom, not I'm being burgled, I must get my gun. Wait,
rewind a second, because you said he crawled to the bathroom. I mean, obviously I have legs, so I don't get the concept, but surely if you had no legs and you thought there was a possible intruder, wouldn't you be better with your blades or your prosthetics or whatever it was that you had on to tackle that burglar rather than crawling to the floor on the floor and finding a gun? I mean, isn't it odd that you wouldn't do that first?
Well, I suppose, but Kathy's just made a very important point there as well. Yes, she would make sure my first reaction was to make sure my partner was safe. You're absolutely right first. But I suppose, though, if you were used to that if that was your life, maybe you wouldn't reach for the legs first because you were used to being, you would be faster acting without them. I don't know, but you're right. I suppose, maybe you would. It depends how secure you felt without them. But certainly, my reaction would not be, oh, my partner's not in bed, there's a noise in the bathroom, I'm being burgled, let's get my gun. We don't have guns in the UK anyway. But it wouldn't, it's just not, it would not be in my head that I was being burgled. My partner's not in bed.
Exactly.
There's noise in the bathroom. It's just the most ridiculous defence I've heard in a very long time. Well, possibly since
Joe's point. And Joe's point is very apt. She said the fact that she locked the door made me think she was afraid of him. Now, if I get out of bed to go to the bathroom in the night, I'm probably not even going to close the bathroom door. I mean, unless you've got visitors. But you wouldn't close the door and lock it, would you? Surely, unless you're that paranoid about your pooping.
No, and Joe's right. They had been fighting that night. That was the point. It was after an argument.
Right.
But no, you wouldn't lock the door. I mean, I'd close it because I don't care how much I'm in love with you. I don't want to see you in the bathroom, thanks. But I wouldn't lock it, no. But also, even if he truly believes that, you fire off one shot, you hear the scream, you're like, oh shit, I'm sorry, it's my girlfriend or my boyfriend, obviously. But it's just the most ridiculous defence I've ever heard. And then obviously you hear this backstory of he's fired a gun off before, he's been in this aberrant behaviour before, and it's always usually aggressive. Immature, violent behaviour, and now he's in this club. And the first thing he does is get his fight. But what I also just found really bizarre is that he fought to get an alcohol ban lifted. And I thought, really?
Yeah, I mean,
the first thing in your mind, facing a murder charge, and the first thing in your mind is, oh no, I must have a drink.
Well, Joe made a point earlier in the chat room about, when you have to go out to a bar to drink. Why can't you drink at home? If it's that imperative to you to drink, why can you not drink at home? Listen, time has caught up with us. Go on.
No, I just think he's feeding another. We were talking about the celebrity thing as well. I think he's feeding on the celebrity thing as well. I think he's dipping on it.
Absolutely. And I won't be surprised if he gets away with it. I really won't. But listen, Ty, time has caught up with us, and we're at the end of our time together. So tell people where they can find you on social media, and tell them where they can buy your book.
Well, nothing's changed yet at the moment. You can just follow me on Twitter at the moment, which is Tyhe Egar, which is capital T, capital P, capital E. I'll never get bored of saying that. And just my Facebook page, TP Egar at the moment. The website will be up at the end of the month. We're getting all that together because the business is getting bigger all the time. And my book, Mother's Ruin, Book 1 of the Reclamation War, is on Amazon at your in your territory, wherever it is. If you just click on it, it will take, everybody knows how to work Amazon, don't they? You just click on your territory and it's there. And I'm frantically writing book 2. So for those of you who have bought it, thank you very much and enjoyed it. and you're going to love part 2. That's all I'm saying. So I'll see you all soon. Lovely to see you back, Joe. Nice to chat with you, Kathy. And I'll speak to you soon, Xander. Take care. Bye.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us today, Tyhe. And make sure you check Tyhe out on Facebook and Twitter and go buy his book, Mother's Ruin, the first book in the Reclamation Wars series. Thanks a lot, Tyhe. See you next time.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye. Absolutely. So my next guest is a holistic biological dentist and a naturopath physician. He received his dental degree from the University of Pennsylvania and believes in education because he believes that education is the cornerstone to understanding the fundamentals of disease. So please join me in welcoming back to the show the one, the only, Dr. Michael Rouff. Good afternoon,
Xander.
Michael.
How are
you
you
doing?
I'm
good,
doing
thank
well.
you. The doctor is in the house. Yeah,
Yes,
how are you
I
enjoying
am.
the sunshine? It's kind of hot today, but not too humid.
No, it's beautiful. Again, I was just out playing some beach volleyball at my swim club and came back so I could talk to you.
Brilliant. So let's kick off. For those people that didn't hear you on the show last time, tell us in a nutshell what holistic biological, I never know if I'm getting it in the right order, does.
There's a slight difference. So again, but the basics are there's that mercury doesn't belong in our mouths. It's toxic and it needs to be removed safely from and not used in dentistry. That fluoride is a toxin that doesn't need to be used, doesn't help our teeth, and it's not helpful. Metal in general is not really helpful in our bodies, especially in our mouths and anywhere else. Root canals can and are toxic to the rest of us, that we cannot get all the dead tissue from inside the tooth. We can control the infection to some degree, but it's still going to affect our immune systems. And that after extraction, sometimes we can have dead spots in the bone that can also be toxic to our bodies. So these are the 5 things that dentistry and medicine don't really recognize that can make people sick. And they go from doctor to doctor, dentist to dentist, and they're thinking, well, it might be my teeth, and the dentist says no, and they go to the doctors and they get all these tests, and the doctors say no, but there's plenty of studies for years and years, and there's plenty of a bunch of organizations that are, and books out there and people that are saying, yeah, this is what's going on.
Right. And so I certainly have some I've had some root canal work done. What would you recommend that people I've probably got 3 teeth in my head that I've had root canal work done. What would you recommend that people like me do to make sure that is safe?
Right. Well, if you go on the web, each tooth is on a different acupuncture meridian, which means that it's attached energetically to other parts of the body. And if you're having autoimmune diseases or if you're having problems with other parts of the body, then you need to seriously consider removing the tooth. That's the only way to completely get rid of the toxicity of a root canal is to remove the tooth and then deal with the space. Ideally, obviously, the best thing to do, and again, obviously, when a nerve is already infected, people want to save their teeth, and that's why dentistry does root canals. But again, there's a risk involved with your health and your immune system. Again, replacement options, if the teeth are removed, is, if it's not in a strategic spot, nothing is an option. Something removable, like a partial plate, that's usually made out of plastic. There's also bridge work, which can also be non-metal, made out of zirconia and ceramics. And also there's implants that are we have zirconia implants, so we don't need titanium at all. So those are the options. But it's a tough choice. Again, I have some patients who have root canals and who their immune system seems to be handling it. And then I have some that are not handling it. So that's sometimes the tipping point of when we actually need to seriously act. Sometimes you need to choose health versus the tooth.
Right, absolutely. And if people come in to see you, you actually do like an individualized health plan for people as to based upon their particular needs rather than like a generalized approach, don't you?
Absolutely. Like you said in the beginning, it's all about education. Again, and here's where I think dentistry is going to get itself into trouble at some point. Dr. Weston Price, over 100 years ago, basically found this connection that root canals are and can be toxic and cause generalized disease throughout the body, and documented it. And again, there's a great book called The Root Canal Cover-Up by Dr. George Meining, who was one of the founding members of the Endodontic Society, and then he wrote that book. And if someone has an infected tooth and you say, oh, yeah, you can save it, just get a root canal, no big deal, without explaining to them the possible ramifications, you're not giving full informed consent, and that actually you can be sued for malpractice for not giving full informed consent.
Right.
In my opinion, again, it hasn't been proven yet, and it hasn't been tested yet. But and the same thing with mercury fillings. If you say, oh, we're just going to put these silver fillings in, no big deal. If you explain that there's mercury in it, and that there could be, and there has been some studies that there's issues with mercury in the body and how it affects and how it's a neurotoxin, and the person says, okay, you can still put it in, that's full informed consent. Without that knowledge, the patient is not being made, not given a full informed consent, and that's where, that's one of the big things that malpractice can bring up.
I think that definitely is a worry. I lived in London for a number of years, so had a lot of my dental work done over there. The first thing that was commented on when I went to a dentist here, when I came back like 12 years ago, was how bad the standard of dental work was. Would you say that American dental work is of a higher standard than other places, say for example the UK and Europe, etc.?
I believe so. Again, I'm not been out and about, but again, one of the places that I know that is using ozone, which is again another issue that I use in my practice to kill bugs and to help treat people and stimulate the immune system, is that there's a lot of places like Germany that's way ahead in ozone technology for both health and both medical and dental health. And there's, in Japan, has some decent technology, and some of the stuff, it takes a while to get here. But, yeah, I think, all in all, except for the things that I talked about in the beginning, I think our technology and our level of care is quite good.
Absolutely. So as you brought up the subject of ozone therapy, I know we talked about it a little bit last time, but for anyone that doesn't know what ozone therapy, tell us a bit about what it is, what it can treat, and how it is administered. Right.
Well, again, ozone itself is basically activated oxygen. Oxygen is O2. Ozone is O3. And it's usually a mixture of O3 and O2 in certain concentration. The smell after a summer rain or after a thunderstorm, that's ozone. Or at the beach, you do get some ozone created. And it basically kills all microorganisms, stimulates our immune systems, stimulates increased blood supply, and does just many wonderful things. Unfortunately, again, in the United States, it's kind of gone by the wayside and it was used 100 years ago plus, but when antibiotics came in and the pharmaceutical companies saw that, ozone kind of went by the by, And it's used to purify water. It's used for some pools and some spas. And it can be administered through ozonated water, ozonated olive oil. It can be used directly IV. It can be used in something called major autohemotherapy, where you take blood out, ozonate it, and then drip the blood back in. And we actually bubble it through olive oil, and actually people can breathe it. The olive oil changes its properties, so it's not as it doesn't irritate the lungs, but it can be treated. We can treat sinuses, we can actually go through the ears with a modified stethoscope, and it can just do many, many things. The problem is that it's not mainstream at this point because there's not a lot of money to be made for the pharmaceutical companies, so there's no one to really run the studies and pay for the studies. But in Germany, Italy, Cuba, Russia, and some other countries, it's used widely and very successfully.
So how do you personally, in your practice, administer ozone?
Again, we use the sinuses through olive oil and the ears. Every tooth that I restore, I take a mixture of oxygen and ozone and actually fumigate the tooth, which has those tubules, which are called dental tubules, which actually communicate directly to the nerve to stimulate the nerve to heal and to kill any bacteria that is beyond where I need to drill to clean up the tooth. I actually have used it in direct IV to treat my fiancée, Heidi, for her RSD, which has been very successful.
Who was our guest on the show last week.
Yes. Again, I learned that from Dr. Howard Robbins, who's up in Manhattan, who's done, I guess by now, about 175,000 of the direct IV ozones to treat, many different viruses and various other injuries and diseases that people come to see him for. So I trained with him earlier this year, and to help Heidi. And I've treated a few people. I've given myself direct IV ozone to help purify and help my immune system. We use ozonated water to flesh out wounds and to help with extractions and gum therapy. And ozonated olive oil as well. We have some people brushing with it to help kill the bacteria and stimulate their gums to heal. It can be used. Ozonated olive oil can be used for on any wound, acne, dry skin, and it just stimulates healing by killing. It basically sterilizes the wound and allows the body to heal much, much faster.
So where would one purchase ozonated water and ozonated olive oil?
The ozonated water you probably can't buy. You would need to probably you can actually buy your own ozone generators. You just got to be careful to make sure it's a good, reputable company, because some of them can be made rather cheaply, and they break down because the ozone is very difficult on any kind of latex or a lot of the different products that can be used to make it, so the machines break down. But ozonated olive oil, you probably can Google and get online from a couple different companies. I get mine from Canada, and I sell it at my office. But it's kind of hit or miss. Again, I don't know a lot of other companies. There's some companies that sell directly to the public, but not that many.
So you can just pop into a store in the city and buy a bottle like one would, the extra virgin olive oil?
No. These are companies that these are online companies that you probably could find that you could get some online, but I've never seen it in a store in a retail store.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about veneers. We didn't get a chance to talk about that last time. Now, what's the craze about veneers, and do they serve any purpose apart from being cosmetic?
Yes and no. What veneers are basically partial crowns used for, let's say you have discolored teeth or misaligned teeth and you don't want to do have orthodontics or braces done, or you have you've had bonding or fillings that are discoloring or breaking down. Full crowns, you have to take away all the enamel and the whole outer structure of the tooth. Where veneers, you only take away the front part of it, so that the tooth is still stronger because it has some of its own kind of enamel structure. And it's like bonding a fake fingernail on the front of a tooth. And you can, they can look gorgeous if they're done properly. Again, I had one case where this young lady that I met actually had it done twice at another office. Once was the wrong color, once they were put on improperly, so I had to cut them off and do them a third time, and now she's happy. But again, the more conservative way to possibly do it is if the doctor is skilled enough in bonding, you can actually be more conservative with a tooth and actually do bonding. Which is direct placement of tooth-colored. Basically, it's plastic matrix with glass, and it can be bonded directly to the tooth and sculpted right in the mouth. But again, if it gets to be too big and too broken down, then that's where you bring the lab in, and that's when you shave the tooth down to the proper shape, take an impression, and the lab makes the veneer or insert, and then that's bonded on.
So what about these snap-on veneers?
Snap-on smiles?
Yes.
Snap-on smiles is a good idea, but and I've done about a dozen of them. They can be used to replace missing teeth. They can be used to make the teeth look better when they're put in. They don't last a whole long time. They probably, if you can get 2 years out of it, you're doing really well. But it's something that you don't have to do any drilling, and you take impression, and they're not cheap. Again, they're probably just about the same price as a partial plate, and they don't last as long. But they don't have to go on the roof of your mouth, and they're all tooth colored. So they can serve a purpose, maybe while you're having implants done or while you're healing and you want to have a tooth replaced. But for the long term, I don't usually recommend them for the long term.
Right. So are these...
They're made of basically a flexible plastic, flexible acrylic. And again, they kind of flex enough, and they snap onto the teeth, and they can look quite good for a while, but they don't hold up.
So what are you looking at in terms of cost for something like that?
Cost of those probably about in my office it was about $1,500 for an arch.
Wow.
And
that's
again,
just the front bit,
they just don't hold up as long as I would have liked. Again, I think the company. I think kind of overpromised a little bit, in my opinion. But they can for the short term work and be look rather good for the short term. Right.
Absolutely. I know lots of people that work in the entertainment industry are actually getting those for on camera and stuff for events rather than having veneers and stuff. So I was kind of like a little intrigued about that.
Well, the difference, veneers could be, depending on whether if you're in New York or in some of the cities or wherever you are, can range from $1,000 to $1,500 per tooth, whereas this is $1,500 for an arch.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit
some of the
about
high-end. Go ahead.
No, you carry on. Sorry.
Some of the high-end places And cosmetic dentistry, you can probably even you need to get at least 6, maybe 8 for your upper arch, and like I said, it adds up very quickly.
Wow.
Financially, that's why I think some of your people that you're talking about are getting whatever, a $1,500 piece. They wear it for when they're, like I said, on camera or when they're making appearances. They don't really eat with it. They take care of it. That would allow it to last longer than if you wore it, all the time, ate with it, and do everything with it. So it is more of a, almost like a piece for, like I said, just for show instead of for really function.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about another kind of procedure with regard to teeth whitening. Is this a service you offer? And
yes.
How good are the results? And is home whitening as good as what could be offered at your practice?
Well, we offer basically 2 different levels of bleaching. One is we make trays, custom trays, and support people doing at-home bleaching with custom trays. And
right.
The whitening concentrations that we can supply are more than you can buy over the counter. And that just takes a little bit longer, but we can get quite good results. The second level would be we do that plus in office, which is a hour-and-a-half procedure where you get 3 sessions of higher intensity whitening agent that is placed on your teeth to kind of accelerate that, and then you go ahead and you can continue whitening at home to get it as white as you want. It's definitely better and quicker, but again, if you are patient with at home, you could probably get similar results.
Wonderful. So tell us a little bit about costing, Michael.
The costing is the at-home for the 2 trays and the initial kit is about $200, which we run a special. We use Zoom products. And at office, you're talking about $400, and you get the session in the office as well as the trays and an at-home kit.
That sounds pretty reasonable. I've heard of places in the city charging between $500 and $1,000 for that. So it actually shows you
we try to keep it quite reasonable. Yeah.
It's worth driving across that bridge and coming across to see you. Even the $1,650 bridge toll is worth it to actually get a better price. Because let's face it, in the city, they're charging you a hell of a lot more than people that are kind of like off the island, as it were.
Sure. Absolutely. Again, well, it's just everything is inflated. Where in the city.
Absolutely. So tell people where your practice is, Michael, and tell people where they can find you on the internet and social media.
Right. My practice is in Thoroughfare, New Jersey, which is West Deptford, New Jersey. It's a suburb of Philadelphia. It's about, if people know where Cherry Hill is, it's about 10 miles south of Cherry Hill, right off 295, which is one of the main drags through New Jersey. I can be reached online, and my website is southjerseysmiles.com or drmichaelrouff.com. And again, I'm on Facebook, Dr. Michael Rouff, and I'm on Twitter as well. Same, at Dr. Michael Rouff. Dr. Michael Rouff. And phone number is 856-845-4390. And again, I'm offering everyone who wants to give my office a call and a try a half hour of a video tour consult, and basically pick my brain for half an hour just so that they can meet my staff in my office, see me, and see if it's a fit for them, both location as well as services, and if and what kind of issues that they have and whether we can help them.
Absolutely. And so all of that information is actually on the show page for today.
Sure.
So if you go to www.xandergibb.com and click on today's show, you will be able to get all of Dr. Michael's information. And thank you for extending that offer to the Xandermonium listeners. So if you want to take advantage of that, guys, give Dr. Michael's surgery a call. Mention the Xandermonium show, and you'll get that free half-hour consult. We are planning to go across there at some point with the TV cameras and to actually give yours truly a consult. I'm kind of scared about seeing how bad my mouth looks inside, but it will be great to actually show people on the TV show what happens.
Sure.
And how we do all of this, but we'll definitely be in touch to set that up with you. But
wonderful.
For now, thank you so much for joining us again
thank you
today
for having
on
me.
the show, and I hope you'll come back again in the future and talk to us some more.
Sounds great.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot. You
Great.
have a great weekend.
You too. Thanks
you. A lot. Take care.
Yep. Bye-bye.
That was Dr. Michael Rouff. Make sure you check him out on Facebook and Twitter, and make sure you check his website, www.drmichaelrouff.com. Again, as I said, all of the information is on the website for on the show page for today. So make sure you go and check that out. Thank you to everyone that's been in chat today, to Joe, to Kathy. Thanks to my co-host, Tyhe. Thanks to everyone who made this show possible today. Make sure you buy Tyhe's book, I'm giving you the name of my book. Make sure you buy Tyhe's book, Mother's Ruin, the first in the series of the Reclamation Wars. Also, buy my book, The Boy from Beyond the Ice House, available at Amazon. And make sure you check out Dr. Michael Rouff and take advantage of that free half-hour consult for all listeners of Xandermonium. Make sure you check out his website. On next week's show, we have guest co-host Donna Raymond, and in part 2, we'll be checking out the vocal prowess of Boogie Down songstress Laurie Nebo. So thanks to you all for listening, and you make sure you have a great day. I love you all. Bye-bye.